He said, "Don't worry about it, sweetie. Just means something better is going to come along." And I didn't get it. I was really disappointed. Beloved American actress, director, and producer, Melissa Gilbert is widely recognized for her iconic portrayal of Laura Ingalls Wilder in the classic NBC drama series Little House on the Prairie. Rising to fame as a child, she captured the hearts of audiences with her talent and charisma, and has maintained a presence in the industry ever since. Little House on the Prairie is a reminder of when things were simpler for us. I don't remember it ever not being fun. Despite facing personal challenges, including multiple marriages, tax troubles, and a battle with addiction, Gilbert has shown remarkable resilience. Recently, she made a startling revelation involving Dean Butler, who played her husband on Fuller House. Let's delve into what she shared. Roots and upbringing. Melissa Gilbert was born on May 8, 1964, to a newly engaged couple, Kathy Wood and David Darlington, who felt unprepared for parenthood. Shortly after her birth, she was placed for adoption and taken in the very next day by actor and comedian Paul Gilbert and his wife Barbara Crane, an actress and a dancer. The couple later adopted a son, Jonathan Gilbert, who would go on to co-star with Melissa on Little House on the Prairie. The reasons behind her adoption remain unclear. Although her adoptive parents claimed they had difficulty conceiving, the facts suggest otherwise. Paul Gilbert had a daughter from a previous relationship, whom Melissa met only once, and Barbara Crane became pregnant twice after Melissa's adoption, once ending in miscarriage and later giving birth to Melissa's sister, Sarah. When Melissa was just 6 years old, her parents divorced. Her mother later married Harold Abels, and together they had Sarah Gilbert, before also separating. 6 years after the divorce, Paul Gilbert died. Melissa was initially told he had suffered a stroke, but years later, she discovered the truth. Paul, a military veteran who lived with chronic pain, had died by self-harm. The revelation devastated her. For nearly 6 months, she battled insomnia, loss of appetite, and emotional turmoil, wrestling with grief and a deep sense of abandonment. According to her memoir, Melissa was raised in the Jewish faith practiced by her adoptive mother, but she never underwent formal religious education or a conversion ceremony. Childhood stardom. Melissa Gilbert's early screen appearances began with commercials, including one for Alpo dog food. Around the same time, she was attending school with Leslie Landon, the daughter of actor and director Michael Landon. It was Leslie who informed Melissa that she had been cast as Laura Ingalls on Little House on the Prairie, beating out over 500 other young actresses for the coveted role. The show's pilot was filmed in 1973 and proved to be a ratings success. About a year later, filming for the full series began. While other girls her age were attending school and playing outside, Melissa's childhood looked very different. Her days were spent on set for long hours, immersed in the world of 19th-century prairie life. Little House on the Prairie was based on Laura Ingalls Wilder's beloved book series. Set in the late 1800s, the show followed the Ingalls family. Father Charles, Mother Caroline, and their daughters Mary, Laura, and Carrie living on a farm in Walnut Grove, Minnesota. Much of the narrative focused on Laura's perspective with key storylines involving school life, including clashes with the spoiled Nellie Oleson. Over time, the story evolved. Mary went blind and moved away to teach at a school for the blind, while the Ingalls family relocated multiple times. Laura eventually married Almanzo Wilder. In the show's final season, Charles and Caroline sold the family farm and left Dakota, leaving Laura and Almanzo to continue on their own. After the death of her adoptive father, Melissa grew very close to the Landon family. However, their relationship became strained after it was revealed that Michael Landon had been having an affair with Cindy Clarico, a young makeup artist on the show. The news deeply upset Melissa and caused a significant rift. After the series ended in the 1983 to 1984 season, she kept her distance from Landon. Years later, Melissa received word from the Landon family that Michael was seriously ill with pancreatic cancer and bedridden. She visited him at his Malibu home, and they spent a heartfelt afternoon together. A week later, he passed away. When Melissa gave birth to her son with her second husband on October 6, 1995, she named him Michael in honor of the man who had once been such an important figure in her life. After Little House, following the conclusion of Little House on the Prairie, Melissa Gilbert remained active in television. She portrayed missionary Jean Donovan in the biographical film Choices of the Heart, and appeared as Anna Sheridan in 3 episodes of Babylon 5 in 1996, alongside her then-husband, Bruce Boxleitner. She also lent her voice to the character of Batgirl in the 1990s animated series Batman, the animated series, though she was later replaced by Tara Strong in the follow-up series The New Batman Adventures. In 1985, Melissa was honored with a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, located at 629 Hollywood Boulevard. Her fiancé at the time, actor Rob Lowe, stood by her side during the unveiling ceremony. Years later, in 1998, she was inducted into the Western Performers Hall of Fame at the National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum in Oklahoma City. In 2006, Melissa took on a provocative role in Season 4 of Nip Tuck, playing Sherry Noble, a patient seeking nipple reconstruction after engaging in an act of zoophilia with her dog. From 2008 through 2009, she returned to her Little House roots by portraying Caroline Ma Ingalls in the musical adaptation of the series. Directed by Francesca Zambello, the production premiered at the Guthrie Theater in Minneapolis and featured Cara Lindsay as Laura. The musical concluded its run in June 2010 at the Starlight Theater in Kansas City, Missouri. In March 2012, Melissa joined the cast of celebrity contestants on Season 14 of Dancing with the Stars, where she was partnered with Maxim Chmerkovskiy. During Week 4, she suffered a mild concussion after falling and hitting her head on Maxim's leg. She was taken to the hospital, but later returned home to recover. Despite the injury, she remained committed to the competition, ultimately finishing in 5th place after her elimination in Week 8. Political career. In 2001, Melissa was elected president of the Screen Actors Guild after a contentious candidacy, in which she eventually beat her opponent, actress Valerie Harper. In 2003, she was re-elected after defeating Kent McCord with 50% of the vote to his 42%. In July 2005, she announced that she would not seek a 3rd term. It would be embarrassing for everyone if she beat them a 3rd time. In August 2015, Melissa announced she would be campaigning for Michigan's 8th Congressional District in the 2016 elections to the United States House of Representatives. Melissa wanted to run for Congress to make life a little easier for all the families who felt they may have fallen through the cracks in the economy at the time, she said in a statement released on her website. She believes building a new economy was a team effort, and it required bringing fresh voices to the table to get the job done. But how did she even become interested in politics? After Melissa moved to Michigan with her 3rd husband, Timothy Busfield, she got interested in local politics. She was especially interested in the state's 2014 gubernatorial campaign, which had Democrat Mark Schauer running against Republican Rick Snyder. She was a fan of Schauer and his running mate Lisa Brown, and wanted to support them, so she and her husband made some phone calls to get her involved. She also did not like Snyder at all. In her 2022 memoir, Back to the Prairie, Melissa wrote that the more she read about him, the more she felt that he was a typical neocon, anti-feminist, anti-choice, anti-immigrant, xenophobic, homophobic, creepy climate denier. It made her angry to think that Michigan, a previously progressive state, might be turning purple. She felt called to support Schauer and Brown, so after finding their campaign headquarters, Busfield explained that his wife wanted to get involved, and they were more than happy to accept the help. Melissa was out to work immediately, going door to door to hand out pamphlets, making appearances, and doing some public speaking whenever the candidates couldn't make an event. When Election Day finally rolled around, she got up early to vote and then spent the rest of the day with Shower and Brown on their campaign bus. They finished at one of the large hotels in Detroit and regrouped in their own big suite later that evening, watching the returns. It became very clear very quickly that Shower and Brown would not be receiving the results the team had hoped for. Melissa found the loss crushing and needed some days of quiet and isolation to recover from the defeat. She even had to set aside all the work she was ready to do and the plans she had been eager to launch. In spite of the devastating loss, Melissa said her time working with Shower and Brown was an extremely positive experience. The campaign experience left her feeling good about the way she'd spent her time. She enjoyed being with people, hearing their stories, and letting them know she would try to figure out a way to help. The following election, when she received a proposal from Shower, she was all ears. He called her to catch up and sprung a question on her. Would you be interested in running for Congress in your district? In her book, Melissa wrote that it took a moment to make sense of those words. She asked the obvious question of why she was the one he had thought of, and Mark said he had observed the way she listened to people's problems and genuinely tried to help them. He felt Melissa belonged in service. Service was one thing, and politics was another. She was flattered, but told Shower that she needed time to think about it and talk things over with her husband. Of course, she eventually decided to go for it, but had to end her campaign prematurely in 2016 due to health concerns. Everyone would have believed this story of hers if she hadn't coincidentally been accused of tax fraud before she dropped out. Not long after Melissa announced she was a candidate for the United States Representative from Michigan, a spokesperson for her opponent's campaign called her a tax cheat. Apparently, Melissa owed $360,000 in back federal taxes and $112,000 in California state taxes. Melissa's response was quick. She said it was untrue and that the tax debt was a result of a stalled acting career, the economy, and divorce. She also said that she had negotiated a repayment plan with the IRS, but her political dreams ended that year. Marriages. Melissa was briefly engaged to Rob Lowe in 1986, but their young romance was filled with ups and downs. Melissa admitted there was infidelity on both parts, and an unplanned pregnancy was what finally caused them to split in 1987. Lowe had told her he could not commit to fatherhood or marriage. Not long after breaking the news of their split, she had a miscarriage. Her first marriage was to actor Bo Brinkman from 1988 until 1994, and her second was to actor Bruce Boxleitner from 1995 to 2011. Her first marriage was filled with alcohol, insecurity, and the unfamiliarity of two people who barely knew each other, trying to combine their lives and work. She also discovered her husband cheating on her in their matrimonial bed just 2 months after she gave birth to their son. When he was caught, Melissa said he simply asked her, "What are you looking at?" A year after her divorce from Bo Brinkman, Melissa moved on to meet fellow Hollywood actor Bruce Boxleitner. The two tied the knot in 1995 and had their son Michael in the same year. They had a 16-year-long marriage, but Melissa admitted their marriage really ended not long after it began. She wrote in her memoir, Prairie that she had an emotional affair with her leading man while starring in Seduction in a Small Town. While she didn't name the actor, Dennis McNamara played her character's husband in the movie. Her third and current marriage was to Timothy Busfield, an American actor and director. He played Elliot Weston on the television series 30-something, Mark, the brother-in-law of Ray Kinsella in Field of Dreams, and Danny Concannon on the television series The West Wing. He received a Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Supporting Actor in a drama series for 30-something in 1991. He is also the founder of the nonprofit arts organization Theater for Children. He was inducted into the Sacramento Baseball Hall of Fame as a pitcher in 2024. Busfield first met Melissa at a bar in 2012 and was won over by her smile. There was a bar right across from the Universal Studios that opened at 8, although there were rarely any other people there until 10 when it turned into a club. He went there often and would have the bar to himself for the first 45 minutes, watch some sports, and have a slice of pizza. On that fateful night, Busfield grabbed his pizza, looked around the bar to see what was going on, and spotted one other person with a fedora on. It was Melissa. He didn't want to talk to her at first. It had been about 8 months since the last time he went on a date, and he was happy spooning his pillow and being single. But something nagged at him to introduce himself to Melissa, and they ended up talking all night. He instantly knew she was the one. It felt so real. By the next year, the couple was married. He told people that across the board, they were just equals in everything. Melissa added that one of the greatest things he did was tell her she didn't have to do things if she didn't want to. It was a really big deal because, as a child actor, nobody had ever told her that. She had always needed to do things whether she liked them or not. The two had been divorced twice and had children from previous marriages. Melissa has 2 adult sons, Dakota and Michael, while Busfield has 3 children, Samuel, Daisy, and Wilson. In January 2013, Melissa's representative confirmed her engagement to actor Timothy Busfield. They got married on April 24, 2013, and lived in Howell, Michigan for 5 years before moving to New York City late in 2018. Also in 2018, the couple bought a cottage in the Catskill Mountains in upstate New York. By the time 2019 rolled around, they wanted to get away from the hustle and bustle of the Big Apple and get some fresh air. The cottage they bought was in bad condition, with peeling stucco and dirt inside, left behind by the previous owner. They also had to deal with mice, mold, and mildew, but they put in the work to renovate it and intend to live there permanently. In 2020, during the pandemic, Melissa and Busfield started a podcast together, titled Gilbert and Busfield. They hoped the podcast would provide some levity as they talked about a range of different topics, from show business to family and the pandemic. Melissa's latest book, Back to the Prairie, A Home Remade, A Life Discovered, was released on May 10, 2002. In the book, she covers the natural lifestyle she has chosen to lead with Busfield in the Catskill Mountains. And while promoting the book, she admitted it was her husband who really helped her get away from Hollywood pressures. Growing up in an industry that values the outside a lot more than the inside, Melissa had been caught in that wheel of trying to stay young. She admitted she once felt pressured to get plastic surgery, fillers, and Botox. But after marrying Busfield, she started to embrace her natural looks. She cut off all her hair and quit doing Botox, and Busfield was extremely supportive. She had been trying so hard to fit the mold that someone else wanted. Now, she's finally happy in her own skin. The couple has now been married for 12 years and is hopelessly in love with each other. However, her on-screen husband, Dean Butler, was a different matter entirely. Let's find out about him and the secrets she had kept hidden from the public all these years. On-screen husband. Speaking to people, Dean Butler has said if he could change one thing about his time filming Little House on the Prairie, it might be the age difference with co-star Melissa Gilbert. He explained at the Little House on the Prairie 50th Anniversary Cast Reunion and Festival why their age difference was somewhat of a barrier. When Almanzo, Dean, met Laura, Melissa, in the Season 6 episode Back to School, Part 1, he was 23 while she was just 15. Their characters shared their first on-screen kiss in the episode Sweet 16, which aired later that season. As Melissa had her first TV kiss with actor Dean Butler, her mother cried very loudly. The emotional outburst was such a distraction that Michael Landon, the show's star as well as its writer and director, had to yell, "Cut." Melissa's mother hadn't approved of Dean's casting due to the age gap as well, and she was unable to bear seeing him kiss her daughter. It was a protective inconvenience. Although everyone assumed this was Melissa's first kiss in real life, she admitted she had some practice puckering up with another cast member before her scene with Dean. She said Dean had been a grown man having to kiss a child, and she could only imagine the pressure he felt if only she had been able to tell him that she'd already kissed a boy in real life. Tim Mayer. By season 6, Melissa's character Laura was teaching a full classroom of students. Chad Brewster, played by Tim Mayer, was one of Laura's pupils that needed extra help, so he had some one-on-one time with the teacher. Apparently, Melissa and Mayer had some off-screen interaction as well. Now, the 8-year difference between Melissa and Dean is a tiny gap, but 45 years ago, it was the Grand Canyon. Furthermore, Melissa had been a relatively sheltered teenager who wasn't allowed to wear heels or get her ears pierced, while Dean was a young man living on his own with a car. He found out later that even Melissa had been unhappy with his casting. In her memoir, Prairie Tale, Gilbert titled the chapter about Butler, "Oh, shit, they got a real man." She had been expecting the producers to find someone more in her age range. Amusingly, TV Land gave Dean and Melissa an award years later for the most memorable kiss in television history. Stone controversy. In 2017, a time when Hollywood was grappling with inappropriate and intimate harassment allegations, Melissa Gilbert said an audition with Oliver Stone left her in tears. She was a guest on Andy Cohen Live when she described an encounter she had with the filmmaker who directed Snowden. Melissa said while auditioning for the role of Pamela Corson for the 1991 film The Doors, Stone demeaned her intentionally. At first, she was hesitant to name Stone, telling Cohen. She said that there were moments where there were men in more powerful positions, one in particular, who humiliated me at one point in an audition, and unnecessarily because she had embarrassed him in a social situation. He got back at her, and she ran out of the room crying. She told Andy that she was afraid to say his name because she was worried about backlash. Cohen followed up, asking if the director had humiliated her in a provocative way. Melissa said after she had auditioned, Stone told her he had written a special scene for her and would like to see her do it with the actor. He claimed that he wanted to see chemistry between the two of them. The scene in question was just Melissa's character on her hands and knees saying, "Do me, baby." She found it horrible and left the audition very upset. She further explained that it was all because she embarrassed him publicly. Deciding to reveal her alleged harasser, Melissa finally said it was Oliver Stone and it was the Doors movie. Melissa then told Cohen she believed the alleged act was in retaliation to an interaction she and Stone had at a club where the director was ragging on television. There were plenty of people at a table and he was talking about how television was terrible and he would never do it. Then all these young girls went running over to meet Melissa because they were watching Little House on the Prairie. As they left, he seemed dumbfounded, and Melissa told him, "You see, that's television. That's what television does." She guessed he never forgot it. Stone responded to the accusations very quickly in a statement sent by his rep, Soleil Zweinig, saying actors were completely aware that the process was going to be intense. Stone said in a statement to USA Today that they auditioned dozens of actors for roles in The Doors. And it was made clear from the outset that the film was going to be a raunchy, no-holds-barred rock and roll movie. Anyone auditioning was told the scenes would be rehearsed and performed from a script, with his casting director, Raisa Brahman Garcia, present throughout the process to ensure a safe environment for all actors who auditioned. Garcia also reacted to Melissa's comments in another statement shared with USA Today by Zweinig, saying the audition process for The Doors was challenging due to the nature of the material and the subject of the film. But every actor who auditioned came in voluntarily, and was aware of the provocative material before engaging in their scenes. There was no actor forced or expected to do anything that might have been uncomfortable, and most actors embraced the challenge, recognizing Oliver Stone's vision and the creative process. In Garcia's experience, there was no attempt to personally offend any particular actor. After her appearance, Gilbert tweeted her gratitude to Cohen Monday. "Thank you all, especially you, Andy, for helping me lift this weight off of my shoulders," she wrote. Prescription problems. When Melissa hit her late 30s and her grandfather passed away, something in her just triggered, and she started having a hard time falling asleep. At her worst, she was downing about 2 bottles of wine every night in a bid to drown her pain. After passing out in a dog bed while hosting a friend for dinner in 2004, Melissa finally decided to give up alcohol for good. She sought therapy and attended AA meetings to help guide her journey. Once she got sober, she was reluctant to take painkillers at all, even after she broke her back while performing a stage musical production of Little House about a year and a half before she did Dancing with the Stars, out of fear that she would become addicted. She also suffered a concussion during the hit ABC dancing competition, but again refused to take any prescription pain pills. She now works with the organization, the Partnership at drugfree.org, which seeks to help parents convince their children not to try prescription medication, and is very passionate about young people not turning to narcotics. The Prairie book. While she would love to say that writing back to the Prairie was all her idea, Melissa admitted that it was a series of inspirations from people around her that spurred her on. Everyone was going through that initial lockdown during those first months of the pandemic. Everybody was isolated and in their homes, and the only way to feel connected was through social media. Like everyone else, as they were going through that, eating all the comfort food and making all the sourdough bread, Melissa was posting pictures of the meals her family was eating, which were very comforting and wildly unhealthy, but lots of fun. Then she got a call from CBS this morning saying they wanted to come up and do a socially distanced story about her going back to the Prairie. That was the first time she heard it. She thought, "Oh, that's cute, back to the Prairie." Then her literary agent called her after he saw the segment and said, "This is a book you know, Going Back to the Prairie Lifestyle." And it sprung from that. The idea was to celebrate the life she and her husband had created up in the Catskills with their chickens. But also, she wanted to remind people to be loving, kind, compassionate, and tolerant. She was inspired by the idea of what people want versus what they need. After all, people learned so clearly during the whole beginning of lockdown that when you suddenly can't buy toilet paper, other things suddenly become very unimportant. As someone who grew up in Los Angeles, it was quite surprising that she wanted to live on a farm. However, Melissa did grow up on a set that was a farm. She was able to play it out quite a bit and then go to her nice home in Encino at the end of the cul-de-sac with all of her modern conveniences. But she always loved being outdoors. She always loved being around animals. Melissa believes this is who she always was at her core. She just happened to grow up in urban cities. Once she and Busfield got up here, got their land, and started to look at all the things they could do with it, and the lockdown happened. It unleashed all of this stuff inside her. There was a person who was dying to have this new life, a true role model. Melissa Gilbert's journey is proof of her strength, adaptability, and passion for her craft. From her early days as a child star to her current endeavors as a director, producer, and advocate, Gilbert has shown her ability to thrive in the inconsistent landscape of the entertainment industry. Her iconic portrayal of Laura Ingalls Wilder captured the hearts of audiences worldwide, and she became a core part of American pop culture. Her later roles in film and television have also shown that she is extremely versatile. But her impact goes beyond just her impressive body of work. Her commitment to social justice, her advocacy for women's rights and businesses, and her dedication to her family and community serve as a shining example of the positive influence one person can have on the world. There is no doubt that if she had continued in politics, she would have made an amazing difference. As she continues to navigate the ups and downs of her life, raising chickens and growing strawberries, Melissa Gilbert will continue to be an inspiration to fans of all ages. Her resilience, generosity, and optimism remind us that no matter what challenges we face, we can still create our own happiness and make a meaningful difference in the world. What was your favorite film of hers? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more juicy stories about your favorite celebrities. If you enjoyed this video, click on the next video on your screen.